From individuals literally lifting a train with their bare hands to acts of heroism so brave they got national honors, here are the times real-life superheroes were caught on camera.
Off my shoulder like that.
Yes!
Starting with a save so daring, it might just give the green light to an Aquaman sequel. This innocent child was just going for a dip, but with no one watching over him, it got bad real quick. He was immobile in the pool not long after entering it. His sister noticed him, but all she could do was run to alert her dad.
Went like, oh no, and ran.
Time was ticking, and by the time he got there, it would have been too late. That's when the friendly neighborhood a neighbor bolted over the fence and pulled the kid out of the pool and started CPR on him. A few minutes later, he coughed out water and started crying. Nothing takes the life of kids less than 4 more than drowning accidents, and thanks to this fast-thinking neighbor, that's one less child to add to the statistic. That neighbor is certainly a hero, but what happens when the hero is just a kid? While Flash got his powers from an accident, it took a moment of danger for this kid to know that he had the power of speed. Joseph was with his mom when she placed her 11-month-old baby on a table. She turned to do something, and her infant child started moving off the table's edge. It would have been a 4-foot drop to the floor if not for her older bro Joseph. Seeing his sister at the edge, he rushed just in time to catch her before she hit the floor. He didn't even know he could move that fast.
Miracles can happen always, but since this time it was me, I'm really thankful.
It must have been the adrenaline from his first real superhero action. But this next person saved the day with so much steez, you just know he's been in the game for a while. So far, we haven't seen any of these heroes wear a costume or an outfit that screams, "No need to fear, help is here." But if you want to rob a store, how about you pick one that doesn't have a man with a cowboy hat and shades? Unluckily for this perp, he had to learn the hard way. He walked into the shop and brandished his gun, startling the cashier. But the man by the corner looked unnerved. He even took off his shades. If Hollywood has taught us anything, it's that it's about to go down if someone takes off their shades. And that's exactly what happened, because as soon as the perp foolishly turned his back, our hero swooped in to save the day. But do you know what's better than one superhero? How about several of them? And this man owes his life to the people around this fateful day. When a car hit a motorcycle with 2 people, it climbed over it, trapping the man behind the bike, while the driver in front managed to avoid going under. But when it looked like the man under the car wouldn't be making it home to his family, bystanders came by the numbers to perform one of the most amazing acts of kindness. They literally lifted up a freaking car, and it just goes to show sometimes you've got to team up with random strangers you met 5 seconds ago instead of calling 911. But this next guy still sprung into action when the relevant authorities did their job. Sadly, fires are no stranger to homes in California. It's a constant dilemma residents of the Golden State have to live with. On one fateful afternoon, San Diego firefighters were trying to put out a fire in a house when the owner, Mr. Guzman, rushed back in. What could be so important that you'd run back there like the house isn't on fire? Oh wait, your pet dog! Guzman returned with his dog unharmed and safe. Man and dog have always looked out for each other, and simply looked for each other like these pet owners who were scared their dog was trying a little too hard to play hide and seek. The best thing about superheroes is that they appear right when you are hopeless. That was the case for Gertie the dog, who went missing for days. One day, her owners, who have been devastated by her disappearance, heard the whimpering of a dog in their garage. They then called the fire service, who broke the wall to find Gertie there. If those firefighters weren't there, she would have turned into a ghost and probably started haunting the house. A dog might have been saved here, but sometimes it's the dogs we need saving from. These three little kids were out playing outside in the neighborhood when the unthinkable happened. A pit bull came and attacked one of them. It had one of the kids on the floor screaming and begging for his life while the other kids ran to get help. But the boy didn't have much time. By the time help arrives, it might be too late. However, amid all the chaos, a neighbor from down the road heard the little boy's screams and decided to call for the dog's attention to get him instead. And it worked. He got close enough for the dog to start chasing him, freeing the poor kid. While the kid was saved, his rescuer was chased down and his fingers bitten badly. His price for heroism. The hero was 19-year-old Grant Brown, who was set to join the army. All soldiers are heroes, but this lad was a hero before becoming a soldier. But while some heroic events push some further into their destinies, they put others on a different path from their past. When we think about redemption arcs, we think of our favorite fictional characters from TV shows. Those characters normally spend an entire season trying to prove that they might not be so rotten. But this kid from Florida did something that'll make you believe that not all criminals have a bad heart. This kid named Jamal was arrested and was being processed at the precinct when the police officer handling his papers suddenly collapsed. Jamal then took the initiative to get the attention of other officers to help out. He not only did the right thing, but he saved the officer's life, and in doing so, he went from juvenile burglar to neighborhood hero real quick. But Jamal is not alone. He reminds me of a group of inmates who use their cunning skills to save a life. Can you imagine trying to jack a car with another perp while having officers cheering you on as you do it?
Thank you so much.
Nice job,
I
boys.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
This sounds so imaginary, but when a baby is stuck inside an SUV, that's a good reason for carjacking. With several of them working on the car simultaneously, they managed to get it open before the heat started to affect the baby inside. They got an ovation.
Yes, thank God. Woo!
And this would be the only time the sheriff and his deputies encourage carjacking. But what happens when the person stuck is not a baby, but an adult, and there are no inmates around? Lori Rabior had taken medication without eating earlier on, so when she was driving, she passed out at the worst possible place, an intersection. But what are the odds that in the other lane would be a coworker? This coworker quickly recognized Lori's car drifting into traffic and didn't think twice before springing into action. She ran towards Lori's car with her hands waving to alert the other cars. Other people noticed that that was a sign of danger and got out of their vehicles to help. 911 calls followed, as well as a rescue attempt that ended with a broken window, but a saved life.
We have an elderly woman that is unconscious at the wheel.
Is she breathing?
Yes, she is breathing.
There's a car. I think there's an incapacitated driver. They're trying to break into the car.
But sometimes you need up to 50 people to do the rescuing. The Avengers may have fought their last fight in the endgame, but some heroes are still coming together to save a life. When a man fell down and got his leg stuck between a train and his platform, he thought he would be losing a leg. It was just too tight to pull him out, and the only way was if the train was lifted from the tracks.
The train just didn't go, and then someone yelled out saying a guy's leg was caught in the door.
But don't just call the Avengers yet. There were more than enough hands to help. Before you know it, about 50 people placed their hands on the train and in no time managed to move it just enough for the man to wriggle free.
Oh, I got him out.
But do you know what's more impressive than moving a train? Dodging a moving one. If right place, right time were a person, it would be this officer. She was literally just on patrol when she spotted this anomaly, an elderly man in a wheelchair on train tracks. How he got there is a mystery, but to make matters worse, there was a train coming at full speed ahead. She tried pushing the wheelchair out of the way, but it wouldn't budge. So, with no time to try it again, she grabbed the old man out of the chair as the oncoming train crushed it. Talk about close calls. And since we're on the topic of close calls, this next incident looks like a final destination moment waiting to happen. The only thing worse than your SUV breaking down is your SUV breaking down in front of a moving train. With her kids inside, a mother's SUV broke down on the railway tracks. She hopped out of the car, frantic to push it out of the way, while also trying to keep her kids in check. That's when a stranger rushed to help, then another man followed, and although the train had come to a halt early, those must have been the scariest 2 minutes of her life. But for this next kid, the scariest 2 minutes of his life were during his lunch break, courtesy of his own lunch. It was just another normal lunch break in North Forney High School. Friends at tables, eating, gossiping, and other things teenagers do at lunch tables. When all of a sudden, a kid appeared to be fighting for his life as he choked on his food.
I was panicking, yeah, gasping for air and stuff.
Thankfully, his mate next to him noticed and gestured for help. That's when senior student Gustavo Rubio rushed in and performed a Heimlich maneuver on his mate to save his life. A maneuver he learned as a rock wall volunteer. I guess not all heroes are born. Some just need to spend a summer volunteering at a safety agency. But you don't have to join the Boy Scouts and learn CPR to save the day. Sometimes a little instinct is more than enough. This brave young boy didn't think twice before doing the needful. It seemed like another normal day with cartoons with his sister, but the moment he noticed something was wrong, he ran for help. His sister got to safety as he alerted his mom of the fire. Gosh, the way this boy called out for his mom reminds me of Candace from Phineas and Ferb. If it wasn't for his alertness, he and his entire family would have turned to barbecue. Similarly, if it wasn't for this man, this baby would have gone splat on the pavement. A man was about to enter his car and drive off when shouts from above made him stop. Although it wasn't caught on camera, a child had lost his grip and was falling from the second floor of the building. But luckily for the kid, the man had his arms out to catch the falling child. The boy wasn't severely hurt. And for the man, the muscle strains he suffered were a small price to pay to save a kid's life. There's nothing more comforting than catching someone when they fall. This girl was about to have a very nasty descent to the ground when her gym class hero stepped in. Split-second decisions are sometimes the only thing stopping things from going full-blown catastrophic, and it took more than just being at the right place at the right time for this save to happen. This reflex would make even the Flash jealous. Cherry was about to perform a gymnastic routine when she started her flip wrongly and was disaster-bound. She veered to the right too early and it looked like she was going to crash so badly. But luckily for her, Coach Chad was just there to catch her before she hit the ground. Damn, the only place you get to see a reaction that quick is in a Matrix movie. It was nothing but fate that had him standing on the right side to catch her. Maybe when she becomes an Olympic champion, she'll remember this day more fondly. But do you know what's really hard to forget? How about nearly losing a child to a speeding vehicle? This woman was at a car wash on a windy day getting things out of her car when, unbeknownst to her, her stroller with an infant in it was not only wheeling away from her, but onto the highway. At first, it seems as if she noticed on time, but as she rushes to the baby, she trips. She quickly gets back up to her feet, only to fall to the ground again. At this point, there was no way she would have been able to make it to the stroller before it entered the highway.
It was a very scary moment.
She couldn't get up onto her feet after the second fall, but that's when someone came running to rescue the baby. Ron Nessman had just finished a job interview that day and was close to the scene. Seeing what was a tragedy waiting to unfold, he ran to hold the stroller, and if he was a second late, it would have spelled doom for the baby. Another man came to help the woman up, who was by then in tears given what had happened. She most likely wouldn't have forgiven herself if the worst possible thing happened. But this next man didn't even wait for the thought of that to settle in before he stopped in the middle of his work shift to save a baby. In northeast China, a construction worker was working at a site when he noticed bystanders shouting at the sight of a baby hanging from the guardrail of a balcony on the 6th floor. While strapped to a crane, his team swiveled him to where he helped the kid to safety. There were no injuries, no casualties, and definitely no use for the mattress people kept outside in case the toddler fell. You just know the crew would have a good time telling this story to the rest of the workers at the company. But while some acts of heroism make for interesting stories, some serve as a reminder to not take people's struggles for granted.
Come on. There we go. All right. You're all right. You're all right. Calm down.
Sometimes the danger that we need saving from is ourselves. And thank goodness these officers were right on the scene to help this teen who felt like ending it all. Mind you, this is very, very emotional.
You're fine. Breathe. Just relax. You're all right, hon. Breathe.
At times, the greatest danger that poses a risk to our lives isn't an armed perp or raging fire or accidents, but the silent voice of depression. But this is a reminder that if you ever notice something wrong with someone, don't hesitate to help. You never know if you might be saving a life. Kudos to these cops for preventing a suicide, but in this next incident, it was a cop that needed saving from her colleague. These two cops were just having a normal conversation when a car was heading right towards them with no intention of slowing down. The officer closest to the car was unaware she was about to turn into a pancake, but in a split second, another officer beside her noticed and pulled her to safety. Clearly, even heroes like cops need saving, but sometimes they need a helping hand to save the day, or should I say, a helping leg. I promise you, this is not a Hollywood set for Home Alone. This actually happened, and it's a good thing that cameras caught it, because imagine getting arrested because you tripped over the leg of somebody's grandpa?
God! Just then, a quick-thinking grandfather with a cane. You're lucky you dropped that gun, man. Boy, you almost got shot.
It's safe to say that superheroes come in all ages, because Grandpa Bill should be in a retirement home and not on the streets fighting crime. But the fact that this next man was waiting on the streets for a crime to happen makes you wonder if Bruce Wayne is more than a comic book character. For a woman, there's nothing scarier than being alone at night. You just never know where a weirdo is hiding and waiting to do something terrible. While this lady was waiting for her friend, this man saw his next victim and started attacking her. This woman may have been at the wrong place at the wrong time, but this other man wasn't. Seeing a woman getting attacked, he quickly rushed over and stopped the assailant. He wasn't going to let evil prevail that night. It's a shame he wasn't dressed in black to cosplay Batman, but justice looks good in gray sweatpants too. But do you know what's better than one superhero? How about a superhero duo of two best friends? That's exactly what Jack Watson and Zachary Hagen are. Back in the summer of 2020, they went to Sunset Cliff in San Diego for a sightseeing adventure, and boy were they in for a sight. They spotted two girls in the water getting thrown back and forth by the waves.
Immediately see two girls down in the water getting thrown around by the waves.
Zach, being a trained lifeguard, didn't need to think twice before jumping to the rescue.
Grab her and I start swimming them towards this cliff where the water meets the rock.
And Jack, knowing his best friend would need help, jumped right after him.
Jake is up on top of the cliff asking me, if he should come in. I'm shaking my head, yes, come in.
Those boys are brave, because even Namor would have been scared of those waves. But those waves were no match for the power of friendship, as the two best friends saved the girls. They returned with a hero's welcome at the beach and received Carnegie medals for their brave act. But the last person in this video did something so daring, he had his president's respect. Thousands of miles away in France, Mamoudou Gassama didn't have a crane to hold him up or a mattress to wait for the baby to freefall. So he did the last thing a normal person would do. He started climbing the building like Spider-Man. It's a good thing the way this man scaled up that building was caught on camera, because no one would have believed just a narration of this story. When he reached the balcony where the baby was, he climbed into it and grabbed the baby from the edge. You can hear the cheers as he takes the baby to safety. It's reminiscent of theatrical Spider-Man scenes. This single deed got him a meeting with President Macron of France, a citizenship, and an easy access to join the fire service. There you have it. No CGI, no stunt actors or green screen. Just real-life superheroes caught on camera. Which superhero moment would you dub the most heroic, and which one made you bite your fingernails? Let us know in the comments section. In our final clip, we have a girl who seems like a real-life Spider-Woman. Like, how does she effortlessly stick onto the wall like this? It's so cool, but at the same time, somewhat creepy. Like, imagine walking to get snacks in the middle of the night and you see her in the corner of the room? Either way, seems like a real-life superhero skill to me.